All right. Welcome everyone to uh, this live stream where we are going to talk about how to optimize your LinkedIn profile. And if you were previously joining me, thanks for your patience. We had a bit of a tech glitch, but it's all working. And I see a bunch of you are joining. So if you happen to be in the old event, maybe could you post over in the old event, like in the comments? To tell everyone to come here. That would be awesome. I don't want to touch anything else because I don't want to mess up this live stream, but we will be able to share my screen this time. So get ready for that. But I want to let you know this is going to be about 45 minutes probably, because I have a few really actionable activities I want you to do on your LinkedIn profile. So hopefully either during this live or after, you are going to go and edit a really specific part of your LinkedIn profile, because these parts of your profile are very, very influential in the first impression that you're creating on LinkedIn and how you show up in search, which is so, so important. So I see that we have a ton more people here, which is great. I just want to go over to YouTube and make sure that, okay, that's working. Great. So, like I said, if you're still have the old one up in a browser tab or something, the old live stream, do me a favor and put this link over in that live stream. And let's keep going just in the interest of time. So, I want to share my screen. And if you have UX friends or friends conducting a job search right now, you might want to tell them to join us because this is going to be really, really actionable. So you can see my screen, and I just want to make this a little bigger for you. I think that's better, right? Let's look in the chat. Yes. All right. So, how to stand out on LinkedIn, because I know many of you are probably spending a ton of time on LinkedIn and not getting the results that you want. But first, I want to, I'm just going to move this over here so I have more space. I want to ask you a few questions. All right. So, question number one is, what stage are you at in your career right now? Because we have kind of three distinct career stages that I kind of refer to in everything I do. So the first stage is you're a launcher, and don't answer the question until I explain the stages. All right, so first stage is you're a launcher, meaning you are very early in your professional career. Maybe you just graduated from college or something, and you are seeking your first kind of professional or grown up job ever. And it happens to be user experience. So, are you a launcher? Are you a switcher, meaning you're coming into user experience from another career? You were a teacher, you were a psychologist, a journalist, a police officer, who knows what. I see we have a ton of switchers here. All right. And then, as you might imagine, career climber means you've already been working in user experience and you want to get to that next stage of your career. Or maybe you think to yourself, man, I've kind of been a generalist for a while. I'm kind of at a fork in the road and I need to decide, do I want to do research? Do I want to do this, that, the other? So, okay, I see we have a ton of career switchers, a few launchers, and a few climbers. All right. So, next question is related to your job search. Now, not all of you will be looking for jobs right now. That's fine. But in your current job search, let me know what or how long you have been looking for jobs. I'm super, super curious. Let me know kind of in months. So I'm going to wait for you to type that in the chat. And I'm very curious to see your answers. All right. I see 2 months. Don't be shy. I've heard people tell me 3 years. So let's see here. I'm just tweeting to let people know we're over here. All right, many, many months. 6 months, 2 to 3 months, just starting. All right, so I know many of you might be shy and you're just not answering, which is totally fine. My next question is, when it comes to your job search, how many jobs have you applied to? Just estimate. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm super curious to hear about that. All right, let's see here. 10, 4 to 5, 35. Someone the other day told me they had applied to 400 jobs over a 2-year period. Okay. We're seeing hundreds now. All right. And of course, we have to consider some people maybe have only been job searching for 1 or 2 weeks. Some people 1 year, right? So see, you're seeing these answers come in. 2 to 300 over 3 years, 14, but only the last few days. Okay. So I think it's safe to say we have a lot of people here who have applied to a lot of jobs. And if you're on that higher end of the number, 50, 100, 200, the question kind of becomes, what is the reason why you're still looking for jobs, right? And what I'm getting at is there's something in the whole package of your resume, portfolio, LinkedIn, interviews, etc., that for whatever reason is not leading to interviews and or job offers. So today, I really, really want to focus on the element of LinkedIn in your job search and what you can do to try and do a couple of things to attract more of the right roles and hopefully detract or deflect the roles that may not be right for you. Because let me know in the chat, how many of you have been approached on LinkedIn or elsewhere for roles that you think to yourself, that is not what I am interested in? Like, I actually don't even have those skills. How did that person even think I would be a candidate for these jobs, right? So let me know if this has ever happened to you in the chat, because I see this quite often. The challenge of you get, approached on LinkedIn, and oftentimes it's these roles that maybe were not a fit for you. It happens to me all the time. Okay, I see a bunch of people saying this happens to them. All right, so today we're going to figure out what can we do to get more of the right roles coming to us and connect with more of the right people, and hopefully have less of those roles that are not relevant to us, and hopefully increase the chances that we are going to be found by people who are hiring for things that we want to do in the future. So let's not waste any time. Let's think about, this is kind of a rough overview of the user experience of LinkedIn. So how do people find you on LinkedIn? And by people, I mean recruiters, hiring managers, anyone on LinkedIn. It could be someone looking for a freelance designer. It could be a researcher looking to find other researchers to follow so they can learn more about research, right? So how do people find you on LinkedIn? They find you on search, obviously, also through those recommendations that you see all over the place. I would say people can find you in that main feed, right? That main LinkedIn feed is surfacing people and content that might be relevant to you. Also, I think another way that people find you on LinkedIn is through seeing things that you may have commented on. And I want to go through some examples of this in a moment. But all of these places where people can find out about you, discover you, see your little profile avatar thing, all of these things have one piece of information that is in common, and that is the LinkedIn profile headline. Okay. And what is the headline specifically? So let's look at it in a few examples. This is just a random person whose profile I went to. So I just want to caveat that. But obviously, on the profile detail page, right below your name, that is called your headline. Now, it's really important to know that a lot of people do not customize this headline. And if you don't customize that headline, LinkedIn will just put your current job title and your current company, which you'll see in a few moments is not that exciting and or useful to people looking at your profile and those using LinkedIn's really powerful search tools. So we can see the headline on the profile detail page. We can also see the headline. We're still on the profile detail page, but look over at the right, there's that people also viewed. And that list of people is a way that people might find out about you. And that has your headline as well. Where else does your headline show up? It shows up in search results. So I did a search for UX researcher, and look at this. In every single row for each person under the name is the headline. Comments are another place where your headline shows up. If you are commenting on things below your name, that is your headline. Also, in the main feed, when you hover over people's names, sometimes you get this little card. Okay. So I hovered over Mitchell's name and I got this little card. And in that card, it has Mitchell's name, and the headline of User Experience Manager at Simple Nexus. So I wanted to walk through this because I want you to see how important this headline is. Because if I didn't know Mitchell and I just hovered over Mitchell's name and read this, that's all of the information that I have to form that initial first impression about who the heck is Mitchell? What does Mitchell do? Where does Mitchell work? Like, that is all I have to go on is the headline. So I want to go through some examples of headlines that I literally found on LinkedIn to show you examples of headlines that I don't think do a really great job. And then I want to show you some examples of how you could rewrite your headline, because this is really, really important. If you are searching for jobs, you have to consider, what is that first impression that recruiters are getting when they read my little headline? And also, recruiters use LinkedIn, has this paid product called LinkedIn Recruiting, and that headline is factored into where you show up in search results. So it's really important to have a clear headline. Okay, so are you guys with me? Is this helpful so far in just understanding, like, A, that you can customize that, and B, all of the places that this shows up, this headline, and how this really is a piece of metadata or information that is giving people that, like, one-liner about you. All right, I'm just checking the chat. Okay, so let's go into some examples, and these are real headlines that I found on LinkedIn. So, number one, Google certified UX designer. To me, I don't think that's a good headline, because that just tells me you did a certificate. But imagine that person searching for user experience designers or product designers or researchers. Problem number one, this person may not show up because, yes, there's UX designer in there, but if they do research, for example, they're probably not going to go show up in search results. I also don't think it's really that valuable to showcase certificates in your headline, because I want to know about you and your experience. And I'll show you examples of this in a moment. So, another one, innovation oriented, ordinary guy with a twisted and resilient mindset. Not a good headline. Think about it. I don't even know what this person did because they didn't tell us in their headline. But let's say they do user research. This person would not show up towards the top of results for user research because user research was not in the headline. Now, maybe in their job history, they have job titles that say user research, but this is an example of trying to get like too cute and creative and throw too much personality into the headline, because it is not going to be beneficial for you showing up in search results. All right, another example, creating good in the world. Okay, it's nice that you want to create good in the world, but if this person is a product designer and I am searching for product designers to hire, guess what? They may not show up. Or forget about search. If I'm searching on LinkedIn or scrolling LinkedIn, whatever, wherever I am on LinkedIn, I just read creating good in the world. I don't know that this person is a researcher, for example. If I was in the feed and I clicked on or hovered on that person's name and it said creating good in the world, and I don't click to their profile, I would never know that they're a user researcher. Okay, because that point is really important. You could argue, well, why can't my headline be kind of creative and personality driven? Because as people scroll down my profile, they will see that I was a user researcher here and a user researcher here. Well, the problem is that here, we don't get the rest of your job history and search results. We don't get it when you comment on something. We don't get it on this little card, right? So that's why this is so, so important. All right, next example. Sense maker and designer of delightful experiences. Again, I'm starting to repeat myself, but people looking for, let's say this person is a researcher, people looking for researchers are not typing in sense maker into the search of LinkedIn to try and find researchers, right? They're not typing in designer of delightful experiences. So don't do this stuff. All right, another example, WordPress expert, logo designer, future UX designer, believer. So I see these types of profiles over and over where it's almost like people try and shove all these keywords into the headline. A couple of problems with this one, in my opinion. First of all, if this person wants to be a UX designer, so I think they do because they say future UX designer. If I was hiring a UX designer, I would be somewhat nervous about this person because I'm not sure what do they want to do? Like, how serious are they about pursuing user experience? Do they also want to keep doing logo design and keep doing WordPress and this and that? Because if I need a UX designer, I want them to be kind of all in on user experience. So it's great that they have this previous experience of WordPress and logos and things, but I'm not convinced that that would need to be way up in your profile headline. A couple of other things about this, I see people put these very personal kind of like values or interests things in their profiles, whether it's like religion or that they love cats or whatever. And that's great that you're passionate about your faith or cats or cooking or whatever. But I feel like every single additional piece of information that you put in this headline is a distraction or a deterrent from the most important stuff. So by having WordPress expert, logo designer, believer all there, it's almost like it's taking away from the fact that you are a UX designer. So avoid this temptation to kind of keyword load your headline and put all of the previous stuff or kind of like personal passions, interests, etc. up in there. Personal passions and interests that are not relevant to the jobs you want to get in the future. All right, last example here. UX designer at Netflix. This is not bad, but this is an example of what happens when you do not customize that headline, because it will literally just pull your current job title and your current company. So, yes, is this better than a bunch of the previous ones? But it could be more specific. So, to recap really quick, the problems that I saw with those, and maybe you see other problems, but problems are those headlines are not helping that person show up in search because they're using either too vague, not specific enough, or too kind of personality driven language. If we're thinking about the user of LinkedIn, specifically about hiring, it's those people whose job is to go and find researchers on LinkedIn, those recruiters and hiring managers, right? So they're not searching for, passionate about doing good in the world. They're searching for user researcher. And not customized, like I said before. Okay, so we're going to take like a 2-minute exercise break where I want you to go to your LinkedIn profile right now and in the chat, let us know like how you would grade your profile. Is it good? Does it need work? And are there specific problems that you see with it? So I'm going to look at my phone, set a timer for 2 minutes, and put in the chat, is it good? Does it need work? And are you making any of those mistakes? So let's see what you say in the chat. 2 minutes is starting right now. And yes, we're going to rewrite those headlines, but after I show you examples of good headlines. So don't go away because we are going to do a rewrite and I'm going to give you 5 minutes to do that. But with everything you're learning today, you can go back and spend 20 minutes rewriting it if you want. But I really, really want you to take action on this today. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, some of you are saying you're not sure how to write a strong headline. We're going to get to that. Some of you say it feels too plain. Okay, Julia said, I feel mine is too plain, UX/UI designer. Right. Some of you saying it needs work. You think it's good, but you're not sure. All right. Some of you are just saying it says UX designer. Right. That's good. But back to these examples where someone is not on your profile and you're just showing up like in that people also viewed list or in the search results or in that little card, that's not going to be super compelling for people. All right. Some of you are saying it has too many words. Maybe you're making that mistake of keyword loading, etc. All right. So I think our 2 minutes is up, but truth be told, I forgot to hit start on the timer. So let's go into some examples, and then I promise we're going to do a rewrite as well. So examples of great headlines here. And let me move myself, figure out how to do that. How would we do that? Maybe click this. All right. We want to try and, oh, there we go. I'll move myself up here. Oh gosh. Welcome to live usability test of Restream. Well, this is unfortunate. Okay, I think I know what we can do. I'm trying to, oh, okay. If I get rid of the thumbnail previews, hold on, slide only. For whatever reason, due to the UX of Restream, I cannot move my little thumbnail. So what are we going to do? Do this maybe? Okay, this works. Let's roll with it. And now I want to see my thumbnails again. All right. So, good headline. Why is this one good? So, senior UX researcher interested in education and healthcare. So, this is much stronger than just saying senior user researcher because it is telling me a little bit about types of companies or industries you're interested in. Now, if you are not kind of super passionate about a specific industry area, that's fine. But if you are, it would be really beneficial to include that in your headline, especially if you're applying to those types of companies. Um, Something to think about. The other thing I want to point out in this one is you'll notice I put senior. So if this headline just said UX researcher, that's okay. But simply adding senior UX researcher, that makes it even stronger. And then if we say senior UX researcher interested in education and healthcare, that's a lot more specific. All right. These are all different ways that you could customize your headline. So if you think to yourself, I don't care about a certain industry. Don't worry, I probably have examples for you. Okay, another example. This one kind of focuses on types of products. So, senior UX researcher interested in SaaS and enterprise products. Great. Another example to consider. So, if you are really passionate about business to business or business to consumer or virtual reality or I don't know what, this is another example of how you could work that into your headline. So another example, senior UX researcher interested in SaaS and enterprise products in healthcare. So what we did was we kind of took the last two examples and combined industries and types of products, right? Because we're talking about healthcare and SaaS and enterprise products. All right, more examples. So, UX researcher or user researcher, either one works. UX researcher, and then previously practiced psychology for 10 years. So, there were a lot of career switchers when I asked you in the beginning. Something for you to consider is how does your previous experience equip you with relevant and transferable skills to user experience? Now, if you look at what you did previously and think it really doesn't relate to user experience, that's fine. Don't stress out. But if you did do something that you think could really help set you apart, then this is an example of how you could add it. Another recommendation that I always make to career switchers is, let's say you worked in as a teacher. When you're looking for that first job in user experience, even if you maybe think to yourself, I really want to work in healthcare or finance or something, that's great to aspire to. But I think you could probably increase your chances of getting hired faster if maybe you stay in that previous industry. So for that teacher, if they looked to get a UX job at an education company, I really think you'd be able to get hired faster because you will be very attractive to an education company if you were a teacher for 10 years, right? So that's something to think about for career switchers. We have two more examples. So next one, mixed methods UX researcher with 3 years of experience. Great. This is an example of one that is a little bit more specific because it does two things. It works in years of experience. It also uses mixed methods, right? And that is not some magic keyword, but it's letting people know that you're a researcher and you have experience conducting different types of research. If you were more focused on just quantitative or just qualitative or who knows what, then maybe you want to work that into your headline. But again, I'm just giving you kind of like a buffet of ideas of good headlines so you can hopefully write your own headline. All right. Next and last example is product designer, passionate about accessibility in design. So if they had only put product designer, that would kind of make the mistake of just being very vanilla, very vague. Sounds like a ton of other profile headlines on LinkedIn. But because they put passionate about accessibility and design, that might kind of stand out or jump out in the search results, especially if they are applying to roles that emphasize accessibility. So, see what we're doing there? You have to be very intentional about the jobs you're applying to. And if you are very interested in accessibility, want to go to a company that takes accessibility seriously, let's say, maybe put that in your headline as a way to kind of connect the dots between what you're looking for and where you want to get hired, and you might stand out more. So, again, I know everyone kind of freaks out and says, well, I don't know what I'm passionate about, or I don't know what companies I want to go to, etc. It's fine if you don't know, but if you do know, if you do have deal breakers, I would try and work those into your headline, okay? So we're going to do another quick activity here. This is going to be 5 minutes because I really want you to rewrite your headline. And 5 minutes, yes, it's not that much time. And I'm intentionally giving you 5 minutes so you don't try and perfect this. Think of it as your MVP headline. It's not going to be perfect. You're probably going to edit it again later today and tomorrow or something. But just by taking action now and starting to do that version 1, it's going to help you get ideas so that when you sit down to maybe write the next version, you won't get stuck. And you'll be thinking about all of the ways that that headline is influencing how you show up in search and influencing that first impression that people have about you. So, to make this super easy for you, I put all of those previous examples on this one slide so you can go and do your rewrite and put your rewrite in the chat. And then I'm going to kind of choose a few and read them out and give you some feedback. Obviously, I can't give everyone feedback, but I'm just going to keep an eye on the chat and see which ones might be interesting. I don't remember off the top of my head how many characters the headline is. So go to LinkedIn right now, click edit, and you'll find out. All right, I am setting the timer for 5 minutes, starting right now. And I'm going to keep an eye on the chat. I'm going to leave this up there for you because I thought it would be helpful to see all of them at once. Oh, I have so many UX suggestions for Restream. This always happens when I use a new software. All right, I'm just going to take a few screenshots of the chat because I cannot flag chat messages. I starred one, which I thought would save it, but it pinned it at the top. So, little UX analysis of Restream. All right, let me pull up my screenshots and find some good ones. All right, you have 3 minutes left, everyone. I see many of you are writing headlines, which makes me so happy because this is so influential in where you show up in search and whether or not people click on you in search results, because all people have to go off of, as you saw, is your photo, your name, your little headline, and sometimes like how many connections you have or other metadata that LinkedIn surfaces in those search results. But always, 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 it's your name and your headline. All right, 2 minutes left. All right, I see some of you had said, some of you added years of experience. Awesome, just that alone is valuable. Some of you said you added interests, like that example of, you're interested in accessibility and design. Some of you career switchers said you added kind of what you were doing before, like that psychology example. Some of you might want to highlight education, like if you have a master's degree in something relevant or a bachelor's degree in something relevant. I think that is sometimes very beneficial to highlight. I was working with someone in my career coaching program who was a researcher and they had a PhD in research. And I said, yeah, put that in your headline for sure. All right, 40 seconds. And don't worry, you can work on this later, but I hope that you've been able to realize some of the problems maybe your profile headline had, and at least get the ball going on writing a new headline. So I want to go through some examples here. So let's see. Whoops, where did they all go? All right. Oh, someone posted their before and after, and now I can't find the before. All right, so let's see. Lana said UX researcher and designer. Oops. UX researcher and designer, 10 plus years experience in customer centered work. Okay, I love it. I love that you added 10 years of experience. The in customer centered work, to me, that is slightly vague. So, what does that mean? Could you instead say maybe the industries you worked on, or was it a business to consumer product, a business to business product, like an enterprise product, a SaaS products? Because I wonder if in 10 plus years experience in customer centered work, that in customer centered work is just a little vague to me. All right, Leah said UX researcher and designer, passionate about accessibility and meaningful copy. Yeah, I think that works. I wonder if instead of saying meaningful copy, you could put where to go. You could say UX researcher and designer, passionate about accessibility and UX writing, because meaningful copy, people aren't searching for meaningful copy. But if you put UX writing in there, that's more of a keyword. Even though you're not trying to get hired as a UX writer, I just think it's going to be more valuable than saying meaningful copy. Okay. Anonymous said UX researcher, and then like a pipe. That vertical line is called a pipe, or I call it a pipe. So UX researcher, pipe, startups, pipe, former archaeologist, anthropologist. To me, I'm not sure why you need to put startups in there. It seems like it's kind of just a keyword you threw in there. I think it's more powerful to say UX researcher, former archaeologist / anthropologist. I would be really careful. This person had archaeologist / anthropologist. I would be really careful with those slashes because it could impact that search. So maybe I would say former archaeologist and anthropologist instead of a slash. All right, more examples here that I screenshotted. Kathleen said, UX, UI designer interested in retail, apparel, and fashion e-commerce. Previously practiced marketing, creative social media, psychology for 6 years. That's really clear to me. I would put that into LinkedIn and see if it's too long. It might be too long. I don't know for sure. But yeah, that tells us that you're interested in the fashion and e-commerce industry, and that you have this background in marketing, creative, social media, and psychology. Shivu said, UX researcher and organizational psychologist skilled in mixed methods. Great. All right, let's see more here. Whoops. Had a few more. All right. Whoops. Go to the next page. Shirley said, UX designer and visual designer, previously marketing strategist for 12 years. Very clear to me. And this is an example of where sometimes you might want to have two titles, quote unquote. So in this case, Shirley said UX designer and visual designer. This is really specific because if Shirley just put product designer or UX designer, we might not automatically know that Shirley does visual design. So by adding UX designer and visual designer, it makes it very clear that Shirley does the experience design and the visual design. I myself, if I were trying to get a full-time job right now, which I'm not, but if I were, I would probably have something in my headline that says experience designer and UX researcher, or UX researcher and experience designer, because I do research and experience design, but I don't do visual design. So I want to make sure people understand I do both research and experience design. All right. Nikita said mixed methods consumer researcher with 10 years of experience. Great. However, if you're trying to get a job in user experience research, you might want to work UX into that headline. All right. I see a bunch of people did something that I believe is not effective. Whoops. But I don't have data on this. So many of you have said things like UX design student or future UX designer or currently studying UX at. So the question always comes up for many of you, what do I do if I'm just starting out? You don't want to put 0 years experience in your title. So when I talk about years of experience and highlighting that in your headline, that is something you can add when you have more experience. And eventually you can say senior UX designer, senior UX researcher, researcher with 3 years of experience, right? I don't think it's a great strategy to highlight the thing that could be a detriment, because people are going to realize you're just starting out early in your career as they scroll down the rest of your profile, right? So the point I'm trying to make is I don't think you need to shine a spotlight on the fact that you're studying user experience. You're breaking into user experience. You're a UX design student, right? I think you should just say UX designer. So I'm not a fan of when it says junior UX designer or UX design student. But over time, you can highlight the experience, years, seniority that you do have. All right. I want to see if there are any more examples here that might be good to highlight. Larissa said, I'm a mixed methods researcher with advanced skills in quantitative research. What should I put on my headline? I don't want to limit myself to one or the other on my headline since you're applying for both. So maybe in your headline, you say like, I'm a researcher experiencing quantitative and qualitative research, right? Or quantitative and qualitative methods, maybe, so you don't have research twice, which I think could sound somewhat repetitive. So yeah, I would try, I'm a researcher or I'm a senior user researcher with quantitative and qualitative experience or whatever I just said. You have to rewind the video. Hopefully that helps you, Larissa. Let's see. All right, let's see what else we have here. Someone said, which is better, UX/UI designer or product designer? So I would say don't get hung up on that title, quote unquote, right? Because those titles mean different things to different people, every company. There's no standardization around UX job titles, right? So I think you need to spend less time agonizing about, do I call myself a product designer or a UX designer, or a UX designer or a UX/UI designer? The whole point of this headline is to help kind of communicate the specifics of what you do, right? So if you say product designer, but you want to make sure that people realize you do like the pixel perfect visual design as well, you might say product designer or product and interface designer or product designer and interface designer or UX designer and interface designer. See what I'm doing there? But I wouldn't get too hung up on that one kind of anchor title. Okay, Lizzie says content strategist, 15 years in experience design. Super clear. Let's see. We don't have time to obviously go through all of these, but this will be an interesting experiment. If you are on Twitter or LinkedIn, I guess, feel free to do a tweet or a LinkedIn post and tag me and show me your before and after. I'm really, really curious to see them. And I think everyone else would love to see them as well, or come back and put them in the chat below this video, whether you're on LinkedIn or YouTube. I'll try to review some of them later today or tomorrow, but I think by now, hopefully you have a really strong understanding of why those headlines are so important, how maybe yours could use some work, and exact ways of how you can improve it. All right, so let me know in the chat, did you learn something about headlines today that you didn't know before? Was this helpful? Have you realized you need to dedicate some time today or tomorrow to, writing version 2.0 of your headline? Let me know, because I really wanted this to be super actionable for you so you could literally make changes to your LinkedIn profile and hit save on that headline today. All right. Awesome. A bunch of you are saying this was helpful and you were able to update your headlines. Awesome. Exactly what I was hoping for, because I hate just YouTube videos where people just give their opinion and ramble on. All right. So, one of you said you barely knew it existed and you didn't know how important the headline was. Never paid attention to it before. Yeah, I mean, you might not realize you could even customize this. All right, so we're going to wrap up here. But before we go, I just want to let you know that I mentioned this earlier, but I run a career coaching program called Career Strategy Lab. And I kind of refer to it as like a UX job search accelerator. So similar to startup accelerators or incubators you've heard of, this is like that, but for your career. And what we do is we help you go through that process of getting all of your career materials ready so you can be applying and interviewing. So your LinkedIn profile, your resume, your portfolio, etc. And one person 1 or 2 months ago, she sent me this testimonial because she got hired and she said, I landed my new job and I still haven't finished the program. And she ended up getting a 40% salary increase and moved into management. And inside Career Strategy Lab, it's like this whole toolkit and vault of lessons, templates, worksheets, tutorials, along with office hours, critiques, feedback, etc., But as you can see, it really, really goes through every single step of the job search process. So, first thing you do is you create this thing called a career roadmap, which is like a product roadmap, but for your career. And then we help you create your portfolio, resume, LinkedIn, your job search, interviews, everything. And it's super, super detailed. So each one of those little boxes is really an entire course. I use that loosely because it's very, very actionable, similar to what we just did today. There's tons of Google Doc templates for your resume, your portfolio, case studies, LinkedIn, everything. And we help people from all over the world get hired. We have had people hired in Europe, in Canada, in the United States. Someone tripled, almost tripled. It was 178%, but they almost tripled their salary 1 month ago, I think. This one switched into, I believe they switched into research, and they almost doubled their salary. And this person is coming into user experience and said that this program filled in all the gaps that their boot camp unfortunately did not cover. So if you are interested in this or want to learn more, we have this application that you can fill out. We do this by application only. So if you're interested, just go to careerstrategylab.com, fill out that application. Take it seriously because I will reject it if you just put one-word answers. And that's really it. So I just want to go through here and see if there are any questions. Someone said, how do you use the voice feature next to the name? Yeah, on your LinkedIn profile, if we go back here, okay, she doesn't have it turned on, but on your LinkedIn profile, if you click edit, there's a way to add a name pronunciation. I don't have any tips on how to do that. I mean, I put it on mine, just I thought it was useful. A lot of people never know how to pronounce my last name. It's Doody. But yeah, I don't really have any tips for that. I just think say your name, and it's as simple as that. Let's see here. Harmony. Oh, you said you applied to Career Strategy Lab a few weeks ago and haven't heard back. Maybe send me a private message on LinkedIn because we normally review applications like every other day. So it's possible maybe it didn't go through, but send me a message. Let's see what we have here. Questions. All right. Yeah, Amanda, great question. This is something I'm working on because for whatever reason, people get confused. So Career Strategy Lab is a 6-month career coaching program that you join for 6 months. That does not mean it's going to take you 6 months to get hired. 6 months is just the frame of time that we allow you to have access to all of the trainings, templates, community, office hours, critiques, one-on-one calls, all this stuff. And it's a one-time fee. So it's not like you can just dip in for 1 month and then leave. Because from experience, I know that it takes on average, like depending on what you're coming in with, 2.5 months to create a portfolio. And then if you factor in resume, LinkedIn, job search, everything else, we felt like a 6-month time frame was reasonable, especially because like life things happen. And if you're working full time, 6 months felt like a good time framing. But it's not a subscription where you come in and you can bounce for after the first month. Let's see. Just reading all the questions here. Will the recording be available? Yeah, in theory, if you're watching on LinkedIn, you should be able to just come back to the same link. Definitely, if you don't see it on LinkedIn, it'll be on my YouTube channel. So you can find it there for sure. I don't have all your email addresses, so I won't be emailing out a recording or anything, but you can just go to my LinkedIn or YouTube and find it there. Someone asked, is Career Strategy Lab like a cohort? So it's not truly a cohort. What we do is we allow a certain number of people in at a time. And then as people's 6 months kind of end and they leave, we let new people in. So we let a handful of people in every month, depending on how many people are leaving. Because we don't want this to be like 500 people at once, because my team could not handle that. And I think it distracts from the experience of everyone else in the program, because it's almost too big and you can't get to know everyone else. But we do have a really awesome alumni community that we're just launching next week, because all of the alumni have been saying, we still want to be in the community. We still want to network with each other. And some of the alumni have come back and said, I got hired and now my team is hiring, and I'd love to hire people, or consider hiring people that were in my Career Strategy Lab thing because they had things in common, etc. All right. Jason asked, what's the success rate? This question comes up all the time, and I'm going to put in the chat a link to our FAQ page, because we put together a big FAQ page with tons of answers, but on that page is the answer to the question of what is the success rate. And the answer is, I cannot definitively give you like 82.7% of people get hired. And here is why, in a very brief explanation. Not everyone who comes into Career Strategy Lab has the goal of getting hired immediately. Like, some people are coming in proactively because they want to make sure that if an unexpected opportunity comes their way, they are ready. So that's kind of reason number one. Reason number two is, I can give you all of the tools, all of the support, all of the templates, opportunities to get critique of your resume, etc. But ultimately, if you don't do the work, then you're not going to get hired. So a question that comes up is like, what are the traits of people who don't get hired? And it's like the people who don't do anything, right? It's like, I always use this example. If you buy a Peloton bike to improve your fitness, but the bike just sits in your living room and you don't put your butt on the bike, then what's going to happen, right? But Peloton can't like call you every day and convince you to get on the bike. So there's this element of just taking personal responsibility. The other reason that I can't give you a number for how many people get hired is because, honestly, trying to remind people to tell me that they got hired, it's a lot harder than you think. Like, you would think people would email you and let you know they got hired, but oftentimes people get busy and they forget. So all that to say, we don't have an exact number, but people on average are getting hired within 3 to 4 months. Some of them were in less than 60 days. All right. Someone wanted to know, is this targeted at the US job market? No, because we've had people, like I said, in Spain, London, Greece, Canada, United States. There may be others that I'm forgetting. I'm not an expert in every single, country's UX job market, but I am an expert in helping you learn how to communicate your skills and experience on your resume, LinkedIn, portfolio. And I consider myself an expert in like how to not play the numbers game and conduct a really strategic job search. So those are all relevant regardless of what country you live in. All right, I have to go, everyone, but thank you all for your questions. Sorry about the little tech mishap at the beginning, but we all learned something about Restream today. And if you are interested in this Career Strategy Lab, you can go to that URL to learn more or apply. And don't forget to tag me if you put your before and after on Twitter or LinkedIn, and I will do my best to take a look at them. And we'll probably do more of these lives. I'm going to get back into the habit of doing them. So thanks for your feedback on this one, and have a great rest of your day. Bye, everyone. See you later.